She stood by the sink, scrolling, thumbs moving, face blank. A clean wineglass sat beside her phone like a prop. Her nails were done in that gray shade she called smoke. It fit. Everything between us had been smoke for months. Thin, choking, impossible to grab. "You keep acting like I'm your enemy," I said. She finally looked up, annoyed, like I'd interrupted her favorite show. "You keep acting like I'm your therapist." "I'm asking for closeness," I said. The word felt embarrassing in my mouth, like I'd ordered something too soft. Her mouth twitched like closeness was a joke she'd heard too many times. She set the phone down face up, like a dare. "Closeness," she repeated. God. I waited for her to say something human. I waited for her eyes to soften. I waited like a dog that still believes the car ride ends at home. Then she snapped, clean and sharp. "Be a man and stop begging for closeness." So I did. It wasn't a speech. It was a switch. I nodded like she'd told me where the circuit breaker was. "Okay," I said. She blinked, waiting for the usual. My panic, my pleading, my shame. When it didn't come, her confidence wobbled for half a second, the way a tower sways when you finally pull the right block. "Good," she said, and her voice had that teacher tone, like she'd corrected a child. She went upstairs without a good night. A few minutes later, the shower ran, and she sang under her breath like the house belonged to her alone. I stayed at the table and listened to the refrigerator hum. I stared at the phone she'd left on the counter. A notification flashed, silent, then vanished. I saw enough, just one word, one heart emoji, to know it wasn't work. I didn't pick it up. I didn't need to. Something in me settled, cold, calm, practical. If you stop asking to be loved, you don't just get quieter, you get dangerous. At 2:13 a.m., she slid into bed smelling like mint and hotel soap, not our soap. She didn't cuddle in. She didn't even sigh. She just lay there like she'd returned an item to its shelf. Her phone lit again on the nightstand. She angled it away from me like a reflex. That was new, and it told me everything. I turned my face toward the wall and let my mind do what it does when a building alarm goes off. Locate, assess, contain. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to pay attention. After that night, she didn't leave all at once. She peeled away in layers, the way paint flakes off a damp wall. Small pieces at first, then whole sheets. Monday, quarter end, late meeting. Tuesday, client dinner. Wednesday, team happy hour. Thursday, emergency presentation. Friday, don't wait up. I stopped waiting. The first time she came home after midnight and found me on the couch with the TV muted, she hovered in the doorway like she expected a fight to jump out at her. "You're up," she said. "Yeah," I answered. I didn't smile. I didn't accuse. I kept my voice neutral, like I was reporting temperature. She stared at me, searching for the hook. She wanted my jealousy because it made her feel wanted. She wanted my rage because it made her feel powerful. I gave her nothing. She went upstairs and shut the bathroom door and, new thing, locked it. The click traveled through the house like a nail gun. The next morning I noticed her toothbrush dry. Not used dry, forgotten dry. Later I found a shirt in the hamper that wasn't mine. Soft black fabric, expensive, faintly scented with a man's deodorant. The tag said, "Dry clean only," and it was crumpled like somebody had peeled it off in a hurry. One night I found an extra phone charger plugged into the outlet on her side of the bed. Not my brand, not hers. I held it in my hand like a snake. When I set it down, my fingers didn't shake. That surprised me. One afternoon, I emptied the kitchen trash and found a crumpled hotel receipt tucked under coffee grounds, like she'd tried to bury it. The name on it wasn't hers. The room wasn't paid with cash. It was a place you pick when you're not proud, but you're not scared either. That night I changed the bed sheets myself. I stripped her side first, like I was removing evidence. The fitted sheet smelled faintly of cologne and chlorine. That pool smell hotels pump into everything to make you forget what happens behind the doors. When I carried the bundle to the laundry room, a pair of men's socks fell out. Dark gray, too large for her, too large for me. I folded them neat and set them on top of the washer like a message I was too calm to deliver yet. That night, she didn't come home at all. At 1:40 a.m. she texted, "Fell asleep at Melissa's, don't make it weird." Melissa was her co-worker. Loud laugh, tight smile, the kind of woman who looks at your marriage like it's a coupon. I didn't reply. At 6:15 a.m. the garage door opened. My wife slipped in with her heels in her hand, hair slightly damp, makeup cleaned off too well. She smelled like that same mint and hotel soap mix. She froze when she saw me at the kitchen table. "Morning," I said, and took a sip of coffee. "Aren't you going to say something?" she asked. "About what?" Her mouth opened, then closed. She hated that I wouldn't give her a stage. She went upstairs, showered again like she could rinse off choices, dressed, and came back down smelling like a different life. At the door, she kissed the air near my cheek. "Don't be weird today," she said. "Sure," I told her. When she left, I went upstairs and stood at the edge of the bed. Her side smelled wrong, not different, wrong, like someone else had laid claim to it, like someone had been there long enough to leave heat behind. I pulled the pillowcase off and found a short dark hair stuck to the fabric. Not hers, not mine. Downstairs, her phone buzzed on the counter. It rang. The caller name was just one letter. D. I didn't answer her phone. I just watched it. A text preview slid across the screen. "Still thinking about last night. You left your..." Then it disappeared. That was enough. I work facilities for a small hospital campus. Boilers, doors, budgets, broken hinges, security badges that stop working at the worst time. People don't notice you until something fails. The job trained me to think in systems, trace the leak, shut the right valve, let the pressure drop. That night, I came home early. No trap, no theatrics. Just early. The driveway was empty, but the porch light was on. Inside, the house smelled like her perfume and a sharper scent under it. Clean male deodorant, like cold metal. Upstairs, I heard a man laugh, casual, comfortable, like he belonged. My wife appeared at the top of the stairs in a robe. She saw me and froze, the way someone freezes when the lie walks in through the front door. Behind her, a man stepped into view in my hallway. Neat haircut, expensive watch, clean shoes on my carpet. He looked past her shoulder at me like he was judging how much trouble I'd be. "This is Evan," my wife said, like my name was a warning label. He smiled. "Nice to meet you." I nodded once. "You too." I didn't ask his name. The house already told me what I needed. "You staying for dinner?" I asked, calm. My wife's eyes flared. "Don't." He chuckled like I was making a joke. "I should head out." "It's fine," she said quickly, touching his arm like she was anchoring him. "It's not fine," I said, still calm. "But you're right. It's your call." The man's smile tightened. He didn't like calm. Calm meant I wasn't under control. My wife followed me down the hall and grabbed my wrist in the guest bath doorway. Her nails dug in just enough to mark. "What is wrong with you?" she whispered. "Nothing," I said. "You're trying to embarrass me." "I'm not doing anything," I said. "That's the point." Her face tightened. "You're not going to tell anyone, right?" Tell anyone, not apologize, not stop, manage the story. "I'm not going to do what you think," I whispered. She searched my eyes for the old me, the one who would swallow it to keep peace. She didn't find him. That scared her more than anger ever could. I turned on the shower and let the water roar, a curtain of noise. Through it I heard their voices upstairs, low, amused, then cautious. Laughter turned into murmurs. Murmurs turned into the hush people use when they know they're doing something they'll deny later. When the mirror fogged, my reflection looked like a stranger. Quiet, steady, awake. They moved toward my bedroom. My bedroom, and I understood the real insult wasn't the affair. It was that she let him step into my life like it was already his. After the shower, I walked back into the hallway and found my wife standing there, arms crossed, blocking the bedroom like a bouncer. "Don't make a scene," she said. "I'm not," I replied. "You're going to sleep downstairs?" she decided, like she could assign me to a different life. I looked past her shoulder. The man's shoes were gone now. The air still carried him, though, his deodorant, his confidence, the little laugh he'd left on the stairs. "I'll sleep where I sleep," I said. Her eyes narrowed. "You're acting weird." "I'm acting quiet," I said. "You should be used to it." For a second, she looked like she might slap me just to get a reaction. Instead, she leaned in and whispered, "He's better than you." Then she walked into our bedroom and shut the door. Revenge doesn't start with a bang. It starts like mold, quiet, patient, feeding on what's already there. The next week I watched patterns, not people. I stopped asking where she'd been. I stopped checking her location. I didn't confront. I collected. When she left with a garment bag and no laptop, I followed 2 cars back. I didn't rush. I didn't tail her like a movie. I stayed far enough to look like traffic. She didn't go to her office. She parked at a strip mall where the signs were sun-faded and the dumpsters smelled like old fryer oil. 10 minutes later, a gray SUV pulled in. D got out. Derek Pike, taller than me, broad shoulders, the kind of confidence that requires an audience. He kissed her between the cars, hand under her coat, like daylight couldn't ruin anyone. She laughed too loud, like she was auditioning for a life she wanted people to envy. They went into a coffee place. Through the window, I watched her lean in. I watched him touch her wrist the way my wife had touched mine. Possessive, not tender. They left separately. She drove to work. He drove downtown to a glass building that smelled, even from the sidewalk, like lemon cleaner and money, Pike & Co. Investment advisors. I didn't take photos. I didn't record. I let the image burn into memory. Some things don't need proof to haunt you. I learned his routine the way you learn a city, by watching where people repeat themselves. Gym at 6, coffee, office, lunch at the same bar twice a week. Friday nights at a mid-range hotel by the freeway. Safe enough to be anonymous, not safe enough to be proud. He wasn't careful. He talked too loud. He bragged in doorways. I heard him tell a friend, if she's smart, she'll dump him before he gets weird. He meant me. Men like Derek confuse silence for weakness. They don't understand it can be a weapon. The following Monday, I checked our joint credit card account. I didn't have to hack anything. My name was on it. That's the sick joke of marriage. The paperwork stays married even when the people don't. There were hotel charges. Not huge, not flashy. 2 nights here, 1 night there. There were dinners that didn't match her team stories. One charge was for a men's watch store. I didn't wear watches. I didn't need time to tell me when my life was going wrong. I didn't confront her with the charges. Confrontation would have turned it into a fight, and fights were where she performed best. Instead, I called the card company and asked, if I'm a joint account holder, can I lower the limit? Yes, the rep said. You can request a reduction. I reduced it, not to punish, to change the system, to make the quiet parts of her life louder. That night, her phone rang while she was in the shower. She came out wrapped in a towel, face pinched. It declined, she snapped. My card declined. I didn't look up. Maybe call the bank, I said. Her eyes narrowed. Did you do that? I adjusted our budget, I replied. You can't, she said. I can, I said. It's a joint account. Her anger slid into panic. You're trying to control me. No, I said. I'm learning to stop funding a lie. She stormed upstairs and slammed the door. From below, I heard her on the phone, voice low and urgent. I heard Derek's name once, sharp like a nail. That was when I knew. Their affair wasn't just desire. It was logistics. It was a plan. That weekend my wife didn't come home. Near midnight she slid into bed beside me, smelling like hotel soap again. She whispered into her phone, thinking I was asleep, "I hate him." Derek's voice on speaker was low and pleased. "Then stop going back." "I have to," she whispered. "Not yet. Not yet." Like I was a lock she still needed a key for. Like I was a resource she hadn't finished draining. I lay there in the dark and let the dread settle into something usable. Then I made the first call that would change the rest of their lives. I didn't call a lawyer first. I called a locksmith to ask questions, casual. How fast can locks be rekeyed? What proof is needed? How clean can it be done? "Same day," he said, "if you live there." I did. But I didn't change anything yet. Timing matters. Comfort is a narcotic. You don't snatch it away too early. You let it turn against them. The first physical message wasn't for my wife. It was for Derek. On Tuesday night, her team dinner followed the usual route to the hotel. Derek's SUV sat in the lot under a flickering light, the kind of light that makes everything look guilty. I walked past it like a man checking his own truck. People ignore a man with a problem. I even popped my hood once so I looked busy, harmless. When I had the angle, I knelt at his front tire and used a valve core remover, maintenance tool, quick and silent. I took the core and pocketed it. The air bled out slow, no pop, no spectacle. Just a quiet collapse. 20 minutes later, they came out together laughing. My wife's coat was open despite the cold. Derek hit his fob and the SUV blinked like it adored him. He started it, backed out, and the tire sagged. He swore loud. My wife's face pinched. Not concern, irritation. She was angry his inconvenience touched her night. Roadside couldn't fix it without the core. They towed him. I watched from across the lot like I was watching a lesson. The next day, I walked into his favorite deli at lunch. He was there, tense, scanning over his shoulder. The swagger was cracked, and I enjoyed that crack more than I should have. Our eyes met. Recognition hit him like a slap. "You," he said. "Me?" I replied. "You following me?" "That's a strong word," I said. "I prefer paying attention." He leaned in, angry. "Whatever's going on between you and her, it's not between me and her anymore," I said softly. He froze. He felt it. The difference between a jealous husband and a man who'd stopped asking. I smiled, polite. "You should check your tires." His face went pale. On my drive home afterward, I realized I wasn't shaking because I'd done something brave. I wasn't shaking because I'd done something wrong. I wasn't shaking because I'd finally stopped asking for permission. That scared me more than the affair ever did. The next morning, I watched Derek from across the street. He walked around his SUV, checking every tire like the car had betrayed him. He stared up at the garage cameras like they were gods he didn't trust anymore. He wasn't hurt. He was unsettled. That was the goal. That night, my wife asked too fast, "Do you know anything about Derek's car?" "Nope," I said. She stared at me. "You're lying." "I'm not going to do what you think," I told her. The words landed differently this time. Now they sounded like a warning. She didn't know what I meant. And that was the point. Derek moved like a man who'd been stung and didn't know by what. New parking spots, different routes, eyes on mirrors. He still couldn't quit his habits, though. Comfort is a leash. The confrontation came on a Thursday in the lot behind his building. I waited by my truck like I belonged there, because I did. He spotted me and walked fast, jaw clenched. "What the hell do you want?" "A conversation." "You're not my problem," he snapped. I nodded. "True. I'm your surprise." He tried to sound reasonable, like he was the adult in the situation. I didn't know she was. You knew enough, I cut in. He glanced toward the back door where 2 employees smoked, pretending not to watch. He lowered his voice. If you touch my car again. I stepped closer, just 1 step. Not loud, not wild, certain. You keep using my house, I said. You keep touching what I built. She's done with you, he said, and he enjoyed it. That's what you think, I replied. He smiled. Take her. I don't need the drama. He tried to get his swagger back by acting bigger than the space. You ever been in a real fight? He asked, smirking. I shrugged. I've been in real emergencies, I said. Different kind of fight. He didn't understand that. People like Derek think strength is noise. Behind him, the smokers shifted. One held a phone low, like he might be filming. Derek noticed and got even angrier because now he had to be careful. Careful men are weak men in Derek's world. I grabbed his collar. Not a punch, not a brawl, just a firm grip that pulled him close enough to feel the difference between rage and certainty. If you walk into my house again, I whispered, I won't hit you. I'll ruin you. His throat worked. The smokers by the door went very still. Derek realized witnesses weren't protection, they were records. I let go like I'd never touched him. You're crazy, he said too loud. Maybe, I answered. I'll call the police, he threatened. I smiled. Tell them what you were doing in my bed. His face emptied. Men like Derek don't fear consequences. They fear paperwork. He backed away, got into his SUV, and left like he'd just discovered his own skin could bruise. As he drove off, my phone buzzed. A text from my wife. Where are you? I typed my first lie to her in years. On my way home. She waited in the living room with the TV off and the blinds open, like she wanted witnesses. She didn't stand when I walked in. Did you talk to him? She asked. Yeah. What did you say? I told him to stop coming to my house. Your house, she snapped. Our house, I corrected. She started pacing, heels tapping the hardwood in the same rhythm she used when she was trying to think her way out of a corner. You embarrassed me. You brought him here, I said. So what? She snapped. You think you own me? No. That answer hit her wrong. She wanted my jealousy because it proved she mattered. My calm made her feel like she was shouting into a closed room. You don't care? She demanded. I'm pulling back completely, I said. Just like you asked. Her eyes flashed. Are you going to tell my parents? Why would I? Are you going to tell his job? That hesitation, just a beat, told me she knew his job cared. She wasn't afraid of my feelings. She was afraid of consequences. She changed tactics. She came close and put her hand on my chest. Evan, she said softly, this has been hard. I've been lonely. I looked at her fingers on my shirt like they belonged to someone else. Her touch didn't comfort me. It felt like a transaction. Was he in our bed? I asked. She froze. Her throat bobbed. It's just a bed. I nodded. Okay. She exhaled, relieved, thinking she'd minimized it, like the words could make the act smaller. I went to the closet and brought out a plastic bin of paperwork, mortgage, deed, bills, the boring bones of a life. What is that? She asked, confused. Reality, I said, and slid one sheet across the table. An attorney's address, hours, steps. Her face drained. Are you serious? Completely. You can't, she whispered. Why not? Because it would make it real, she almost said. Because she'd been living in the space between truth and denial, and I'd just lit it up. What do you want? She asked, voice tight. I held her gaze and said the truth that finally made her pale. This isn't about you anymore. For a second, she looked like she might actually break. Then the mask tried to come back, mean and bright. You're pathetic, she hissed. I didn't flinch. Maybe, I said, but I'm not quiet anymore. After I said it wasn't about her anymore, she stood very still, like a person hearing a verdict. Then she tried something that would have worked on the old me. She walked over, straddled my lap, and kissed my neck with rehearsed softness. Her perfume hit me first, then that faint hotel chlorine, and my stomach turned. "Let's not do this," she murmured. "Let's be us." I lifted her off me and set her on her feet, like she weighed nothing. Her eyes flashed with humiliation. "What? I disgust you now?" I looked at her, honest. "I don't know who you are," I said. She laughed, sharp. "You know exactly who I am." "No," I said. "I know who you pretend to be." The panic came out wearing anger. "You're going to make me look bad," she said. I nodded. "You handled that part." She grabbed her phone. "Derek says you're harassing him," she said, staring out the window like help might arrive. "I told him to stop coming into my house," I answered. She snapped. "He's not the problem." "He's not?" I asked. Her eyes flickered away. She knew what that meant. When she spoke again, her voice went small. "If you do this, you'll be alone." I stared at her. "I've been alone," I said. "You were just in the room." That was the moment she understood she'd trained the wrong animal. "If you want to break Derek, you don't hit him. You take away what he sells, trust." I didn't have a movie-style confession tape. I didn't need one. The finance world runs on rules and optics. You don't have to prove a crime to trigger a review. You just have to raise a credible risk. That same week, I finally sat across from a divorce attorney. Not in some shiny downtown office with mahogany and ego. In a small suite above a tax prep place, where the hallway smelled like copier toner and old carpet. The attorney was a woman in her 50s with sharp glasses and a voice that didn't waste words. She didn't gasp at my story. She didn't judge me for staying. She just asked for dates. "When did she start staying out?" she asked. "Mid-October," I said. "Any joint accounts?" "Yes." She nodded and wrote like she was building a fence. "You can't freeze everything," she said. "But you can protect yourself, and you need to stop living like you're waiting for her to come back." I told her about Derek being in the house. I told her about the hotel charges. I told her about the way my wife kept saying, "Not yet," like I was a storage unit she still paid for. The attorney looked up. "Do you want to punish her?" I thought about it. Thought about the easy fantasies, cops, handcuffs, some neat ending where she got labeled the villain and I got labeled the survivor. It sounded satisfying and stupid at the same time. "No," I said. "I want her gone." She tapped her pen once. "Then we do this clean," she said. "We file. We ask for temporary orders. We document finances. We keep it boring. Boring wins." She explained it the way my job explains a failing generator. What matters, what doesn't, what will break if you overload it. She told me not to change the locks without legal advice, then paused and added, "Unless you're ready for the fight." Before I left, she slid a yellow legal pad toward me. On it she'd written a list: screenshots, statements, receipts, dates, witnesses, a timeline, a map. "If you stay emotional," she said, "you'll lose. If you stay factual, you'll win." I walked back to my truck and sat behind the wheel without starting it. My hands were steady. My stomach hurt, not from fear, from the certainty that the life I'd been pretending to live was already over on paper. When I got home, my wife was in the kitchen taking selfies in front of the window like she still belonged in the light. She didn't ask where I'd been. She didn't care, as long as I stayed predictable. I went upstairs, opened a drawer, and started a folder the way you start a fire, carefully, quietly, with the certainty that it will burn. She also warned me about my own mouth. "Don't text threats. Don't leave voicemails you wouldn't want played in court," she said. "And if she tries to bait you into yelling, walk away. Judges don't care who started it. They care who looks stable." On her wall hung a framed print that said, Keep it simple. It looked like the kind of decoration people buy to remind themselves of what they can't do naturally. Before I left, I asked the question I'd been swallowing for months. What if she lies? The attorney didn't smile. People lie, she said. Paper doesn't. Start making paper. So I did. I went to a bank branch on my lunch break and opened a new checking account in my name only because she could drain the joint one out of spite and call it freedom. I moved a reasonable amount, enough to cover rent-like bills and groceries, then left the rest where it was so it wouldn't look like I was hiding money. That night I walked through the house and photographed my own things: tools, electronics, the heirloom watch my dad left me that I never wore. I wrote down serial numbers like I was inventorying a damaged wing of the hospital. At 2 a.m. she came in humming, smelling like city air and someone else's soap. She stepped over my boots by the door like she didn't see them. "You're up again," she said, annoyed. "Yeah," I replied, and kept writing dates on the legal pad. She watched me for a moment, then walked away. But I felt her attention on my back like a hand. The old me would have turned, tried to fix it, tried to plead. I didn't. I kept making paper. On the pad, I wrote one more line: "Do not argue. Do not explain. Do not beg." Then I underlined it twice and shut the drawer. For good, no excuses end. Before I wrote anything, I went to the bar he liked and listened. He came in loud, 2 co-workers trailing him like he paid them in approval. "I've got a crazy week," he said, and laughed. "Some husband thinks he's scary." One co-worker grinned. "Still got that stalker?" Derek snorted. "Guy's a joke, quiet type. They swallow it." He said it with such certainty I felt my teeth pressed together. I left before he saw me. Not because I was scared, because I was disciplined. From my hospital office Wi-Fi, stable and public, I wrote a calm email to Pike & Kowa's compliance address. Not rage, not threats, just specifics: meetings at a hotel during business hours, a relationship with a married partner, reputational exposure tied to donors and clients. I named Derek. I attached nothing. Then I hit send. The morning after my email, Derek tried to reclaim control the only way he knew: intimidation. He showed up at the hospital. Not inside. He wouldn't risk visitor logs. He waited in the public lot, leaning on his SUV like the world owed him space. When I came out after my shift, he stepped into my path. "You sent that," he said. I didn't pretend. "You earned it," I replied. His jaw clenched. "You have no idea who you're messing with." I nodded toward the entrance behind me. "You're standing under cameras," I said. "If you're going to threaten me, pick a smarter stage." He looked up, realized I was right, and hated me for it. "You think you're some kind of strategist," he said. "I'm a maintenance guy," I answered. "When a system's toxic, I shut it down." His hand twitched like he wanted to grab me. He didn't. He backed away, got in, and peeled out, tires squealing just enough to look tough. A security guard nearby glanced over. I waved like everything was normal. That was the advantage of being calm. People assume you're fine. The next afternoon, my wife came home early and slammed the door hard enough to rattle the frames. "He got called in," she said, voice shaking. "They ask questions." I leaned on the counter. "About what?" She stared at me like she could force the answer out of my face. "You told someone." "Maybe someone noticed," I said. She laughed, bitter. "Nobody notices unless you make them." "You brought him into my house," I said. "That's plenty noticeable." She lunged a step closer. "You're trying to destroy him." "He's trying to build a life on my ruins," I answered. "I'm taking back the bricks." Her eyes flashed, then softened into fear. "Stop," she whispered. "Please stop." "You told me to stop begging," I said. "So I'm not." That night she stayed home, pacing, checking her phone like it was a bomb. She opened the front door twice as if she might run, then shut it again. At 12:37 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. We need to talk. I typed back, name a place. The reply came fast. Tomorrow, 7 p.m., parking garage under the Franklin building. I smiled in the dark. That wasn't my move. That was his. And men pick garages when they think shadows belong to them. Sunday night, the streets were slick from a thin rain. The city shone like it was hiding something. I arrived early, level 3. Fewer cars, more quiet. I didn't bring a weapon. I brought paper. In my pocket, a manila envelope with printed screenshots from my wife's phone, previews she'd let flash in my face for months because she thought I was harmless. Also a copy of my calm compliance email, and a spare set of keys, hers. Because that morning, I'd done something simple and legal. I'd rekeyed the house. Same doors, new guts. My key worked. Hers wouldn't. At 7:02, Derek's SUV rolled in. He parked nose out like he planned to run. He got out and scanned corners, jaw tight, hands empty, but ready. "What do you want?" he said, coming close. "Distance," I replied. He scoffed. "You don't have anything." I slid out one screenshot and held it up. From my wife. "Don't worry, he's harmless. He'd never leave." Under it, Derek's reply. "Good. I'm not sharing." His face changed. The smugness fell away, replaced by something close to nausea. "You don't know the context," he said. "I know the contempt," I replied. His eyes narrowed. "She's not my girlfriend," he snapped. "She's a situation." I nodded slowly. "Thank you." I slid out the second screenshot, my wife texting her friend. "He thinks I'm leaving for love. That's cute. I'm leaving because I'm tired of being married to a small life." Derek stared. He hadn't seen that. His lips parted like he'd been punched without contact. The twist landed clean. She wasn't choosing between us. She was using both. Derek's voice shook. "She told me you were controlling." "She told you whatever made you useful," I said. "That's what she does." He shoved me hard. My shoulder hit a concrete pillar. Pain flashed bright and simple. I didn't swing back. I caught his wrist and twisted just enough to drop him to a knee, just enough to make him understand control without turning it into violence. His breath came out as a grunt. "You don't get to leave the middle," I whispered. "You walked into it." Headlights swept the garage. My wife's car rolled in. Of course she'd followed him. She always chased the story. She got out fast, heels clacking. "What is this?" she demanded. Derek pointed at me. "He's threatening me." I looked at her. "I didn't invite you." She grabbed Derek's arm. "Go!" she snapped, protective. Derek stared at her like she was a stranger. "You said he'd never leave," he said quietly. Her face froze. "You said he was harmless," he added. She opened her mouth, but the excuse didn't come fast enough. That pause told on her better than any confession. Derek yanked free, got into his SUV, and started it. "Derek!" she cried. He backed out without looking at her. I reached into my pocket and held up her old house key. "This won't work anymore," I said. Her breath hitched. "What?" "I changed the locks this morning," I told her. She turned, frantic, running after Derek as his SUV disappeared into the night. When I showed her the key wouldn't work, her face tried to form 3 expressions at once: anger, fear, calculation. Derek's taillights vanished into rain. My wife ran after him anyway, like speed could rewrite choices. She turned back to me, breathing hard. "Fix this," she demanded. "I can't fix what you broke," I said. She lunged for the envelope, not careful, desperate. I pulled back and bumped a parked car. The alarm chirped once. She froze at the sound, suddenly aware of cameras and the possibility of witnesses. She hated being seen in a moment she couldn't control. I used that pause to seal the envelope again and said, "Quiet. You don't get to grab truth and call it yours." She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "If you do this, I'll tell everyone you hit me," she whispered. I stared at her. "You can say it," I replied. But you can't make it true. That certainty emptied her face. For a second, she looked small. Then she turned and ran toward the stairs, like she could still chase an ending that belonged to her. And for the first time, she didn't know which ending to choose. At the garage exit, Derek rolled his window down just long enough to end it. "This is done," he said. "You can't just leave," my wife snapped, breathless. He stared at her, flat. "I didn't know you were hollow," he said, and drove off. She stumbled back toward me, hair loose, mascara starting to run. The mask had melted. "This isn't over," she said, shaking. "It is," I replied. "It ends access." "You can't lock me out," she hissed. "I already did," I said. She tried a new voice, soft, pleading. "Evan, please. We can fix this." "You don't know how," I said. Her eyes flashed. "I'll tell them you're unstable, stalking, threatening." "You can say whatever you want," I told her. "It won't match the paperwork." I handed her the envelope with the petition and the hearing date. Served, official, boring, fatal to a liar's story. She stared at it like it was poison. "You filed," she whispered. "Friday," I said, "after you didn't come home." Above us, muffled music pulsed through the concrete. The Franklin building was hosting a holiday fundraiser, dressed-up people applauding themselves for being decent. My wife followed when I walked toward the stairwell. "Where are you going?" she demanded. "To make sure you can't rewrite this," I said. We climbed into the lobby outside the ballroom. Warm light. Perfume. Laughing donors. A big screen cycling sponsor logos. A volunteer at a podium watched me approach. I lifted my hospital badge. "Facilities," I said. "Display feed issue, 30 seconds. She nodded. People trust badges. They trust calm. I plugged my phone into the laptop running the slideshow. My wife's breath broke. "Don't." The screen changed. An email from Pike & Kober Compliance. Immediate review. Conduct. Then another. Administrative leave. Heads turned. Murmurs rose. A few people laughed, because laughter is what they do when they don't understand they've just stepped on a landmine. I clicked again. The screenshot appeared. "Don't worry, he's harmless. He'd never leave." The room went quiet, in a way that felt physical. I stepped to the microphone and said, steady, "My name is Evan Hale. I'm the spouse in that message." My wife stood behind me, frozen, mouth working like she could talk her way out of gravity. I didn't rant. I didn't beg. I gave them the clean truth, the kind that sticks to walls. "And the woman who told me to stop begging for closeness," I said. "Just learned what happens when you teach a quiet man how to stop asking." Security started moving. I turned to my wife. Her eyes were wide, wet, furious. "You ruined me," she whispered. I leaned close so only she heard. "No," I said. "You ruined the version of you that depended on me staying silent." Then I walked out into the cold night air while the fundraiser behind me cracked into chaos. The room reacted the way crowds always do when the story turns on them. First, silence, thick and stunned, then whispers spreading fast. People leaned toward each other, faces tightened. A few phones rose, screens glowing like fireflies. A man near the front, one of the sponsors, judging by his badge, stood up and pointed at the screen. "Is that—" he started, then stopped. My wife made a strangled sound behind me. She took one step forward, then two, like she might tackle me right there in front of strangers. But security was already moving, and she knew it. She didn't want to be restrained in public. She wanted to be believed. "Turn it off," she hissed under her breath. "Please, turn it off." I didn't. A suited woman with a board pin on her lapel walked fast toward a side door, talking into her phone. Authority moves differently. It doesn't run, it commands space. My wife tried to grab my arm. A security guard stepped between us. "Ma'am," he said. "I'm his wife," she snapped. The guard didn't flinch. "Ma'am." The word sounded like a boundary. I stepped away, letting him hold it. My wife's face twisted. "Evan!" she yelled, and it finally had the sound of my name in it, like she'd discovered I existed in the worst possible way. I walked through the lobby doors into cold night air that smelled like wet pavement and winter. Behind me, the fundraiser erupted. People arguing, donors demanding answers, organizers fumbling with cables. Chaos has a sound. It's not loud, it's layered. My wife burst out after me a moment later. Security followed at a distance, watching her hands. She ran toward my truck. "Open it!" she screamed. I got in, locked the doors, and started the engine. She hit the window with her palm, hard enough to make the glass tremble. Her face was inches from mine, eyes wild. "You can't do this to me," she shouted. I rolled the window down 2 inches, just enough for words, not enough for access. "You told me to stop begging," I said calmly. "So I stopped." Her mouth opened. For a second, it looked like she might finally say something true. Instead, she spat, "You'll regret this." I nodded like she'd warned me it might rain. "Maybe," I said, "but not tonight." I rolled the window up. Her palm hit the glass again. The sound was dull, desperate. I put the truck in gear and pulled away. She chased for 3 steps, heels slipping on wet pavement, then stopped, standing under the building lights with her hair blown loose and her life cracking in public. In the rearview mirror, I watched her shrink into a figure who couldn't rewrite what had just happened. I didn't feel healed. I felt finished.